piano is, by far, one of the most popular instruments in the world to learn. With its wide genre versatility and ease of learning for beginners, I'm sure that I can safely assume that most of you watching this video have learned to or know how to play the piano. But how did we get to the elegant pianos of today? The focus of this video will be on grand pianos, but I will talk about some of the other modern types of pianos so that the distinction among them can be made. Now that the topic of this video has been made clear, let me introduce myself. Hello, I'm Janai, and on my channel Nuji Arts, I talk a lot about, give tips on, and play music, primarily the piano. I hope you enjoy my music content and the rest of this video. If you want to skip to a specific part of the video, there will be timestamps in the description below. As we get into this topic, I want to explain what a piano is. According to the definition given by Oxford Languages, a piano is a large keyboard musical instrument with a wooden case enclosing a soundboard and metal strings, which are struck by hammers when the keys are depressed. The strings' vibrations are stopped by dampers when the keys are released and can be regulated for length and volume by 2 or 3 pedals. Standard full pianos contain 88 keys with 52 white keys and 36 black keys for a wide range of sounds. However, some, especially digital and electronic ones, have less than that, and some have more, such as the Imperial Bossendorfer that contains 97 keys. Before I get started on this section, I want to make it clear that the prices I am listing are based on the highest price brackets from my sources. The grand piano. The grand piano is a large piano that has its body, strings, and soundboard all arranged in a horizontal fashion to the ground. They are usually supported by 3 legs and emit a full-tone sound when played. They also tend to be the most expensive type of piano, around $65,000 to $190,000. The upright piano. The upright piano is a smaller, compact type of piano that has its strings arranged vertically instead of horizontally to the ground. They are usually supported by 2 front legs, with the soundboard acting as a support in the rear, and do not sound as full as the grand piano. They also tend to be cheaper than grand pianos, around $10,000 to $25,000. The digital piano. The digital piano is a type of electronic keyboard that uses either synthesized emulation or recorded samples of an acoustic piano to make sound through internal loudspeakers. They can come in the appearance of a grand or upright pianos and can come around the same price bracket as an upright piano, around $10,000 to $20,000. The electronic keyboard. The electronic keyboard can be classified as a type of digital piano because it can emulate the sound of an acoustic piano. However, keyboards are special in that they can recreate the sound of a wide variety of instruments, such as the organ, the violin, the harp, and the flute, to name a few. They have no attached legs or pedals, which means that a stand and plug-in pedals must be brought separately. They are very portable and lightweight and are usually the cheapest type of piano, around $2,000 to $7,000. Now that I've given you the distinction among some different types of pianos, we're going to take our focus back to the first type of piano, the grand piano, and its history. The piano has had many predecessors. However, its main predecessors are narrowed down to 4 instruments: the monochord, the dulcimer, the clavichord, and the harpsichord. Let's take a dive into what these individual instruments are before we get into the creation of the first true piano. The monochord. The monochord is an ancient scientific and musical instrument that consists of a single metal string stretched over a hollow resonating body, such as a wooden box, that was divided into 2 sections by a movable bridge. The lengths of these sections could be set to any ratio with the bridge to give different pitches. It was plucked to be played and mostly used for the investigation and demonstration of musical phenomena. The piano's ancestry to the monochord can therefore classify the piano as a string instrument. The dulcimer. The dulcimer, specifically the hammered dulcimer, is another ancient instrument that consists of a trapezoidal soundboard with steel or brass strings that run from pins at the ends called rails stretched over it. In order to be played, its strings are struck by a small hammer. The number of strings on this instrument depended on the size of it. The larger the instrument, the more strings it would have. The dulcimer also contains treble and bass strings, which would cross over treble and bass bridges, which determine the way the string is tightened to produce a higher or lower pitch. It is similar to the modern grand piano in that it has multiple strings that are struck by hammers to produce the different pitches. This can therefore also classify the piano as a percussion instrument. The clavichord. The clavichord, which was invented in the early 14th century, is an instrument that consists of strings made of brass or a combination of brass and iron that run transversely from the hitch pin rail on the left to the tuning pegs on the right. The strings are usually arranged in pairs and struck by brass tangents below them whenever a key was pressed. The sound would be stopped by dampers on the ends of the strings whenever the tangents went back down. The sound range of the clavichord was usually around 4 to 5 octaves, and its volume could be controlled by how much pressure is put on the keys. In its essence, the clavichord was a large step forward toward the modern piano. The harpsichord. The harpsichord, which can be dated back to the 14th and 15th centuries, is an instrument that looks very similar to the modern grand piano. However, instead of its strings being struck by hammers, they are plucked by a small piece of material called a plectrum, held in a narrow slip of wood called a jack, which was attached to the key. When the key was pressed, the plectrum would be raised to pluck the string and would pivot when it lowered back down as to not pluck the string again as it lowered. Unlike the clavichord, the harpsichord didn't have a method to control the volume because its strings were plucked rather than struck. Its appearance, which closely resembles that of a modern grand piano, also makes it a large step towards the modern grand piano. Bartolomeo Cristofori was the inventor of the first true piano. After being appointed in 1688 to care for the harpsichords and eventually the entire collection of musical instruments at the Florentine court of Grand Prince Ferdinando de' Medici, Cristofori discovered his dissatisfaction with the inability to control the volume of the harpsichord. He switched out the plectra for hammers to aid in volume control. After this change, a poet and journalist named Scipione Maffei enthusiastically named Cristofori's instrument a, quote, "Graffiti-cembalo col piano e forte," harpsichord with soft and loud, which is where the piano's first name, pianoforte, first came into play. And a contemporary inscription from Federico Miccoli, a Florentine court musician, notes that Cristofori first made his new piano in 1700, which gives us an exact date for the birth of the first true piano. However, this was not the only change that Cristofori made to his creation. He added other changes. One, for example, was a mechanism that allowed for the hammer to instantly fall away from the string after striking it to allow for the string to not be dampened. This way, it could be struck harder than a clavichord. Another change was the isolation of the soundboard from the parts of the case that bore tension to allow the soundboard to vibrate freely. 3 of Cristofori's original pianos have survived to the modern day and are being held at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, at the Museo Strumenti Musicali in Rome, and at the Musikinstrumenten Museum of Leipzig University in Germany. The oldest surviving piano at the Metropolitan closely resembles a harpsichord in its plain wing-shaped case. The sound of it is closer to a harpsichord because of its thinner strings and harder hammers, and its range extends to 54 rather than 88 keys. And And that'll be the end of this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you feel so inclined to support me, you can subscribe to my channel and like the video. If you have something you want to say, drop it down in the comment section below. Even if it's a critique or constructive criticism of my channel or this video, don't be shy. I'm harmless most of the time. All my links to my sources will be down below in the description, along with my social medias such as my Instagram at NewGArts, my second co-owned Instagram, Shielded Memories, my webtoon Little Box, my second webtoon Shielded Memories, which is also co-owned. And yeah, that'll be the end of it. See you guys next Monday with another video. Peace out. Have a beautiful day or night. Goodbye.